Good morning, dear hearts. We are on lesson 70. Please subscribe. Today's lesson is My Salvation Comes From Me. But as I've said so many times, that if that word salvation does not sit gently upon your mind and your heart, then please substitute it with my happiness comes from me, my freedom comes from me, my forgiveness comes from me. All of those are synonymous, and they are certainly true and can be used instead of salvation. The meaning is the same. This lesson starts and tells us that temptation, all temptation, which is everything coming from the ego to try to distract us, is just a form to try to make us not believe today's lesson. It says salvation, your happiness seems to come from anywhere except from you, and so does the source of guilt. You see neither guilt nor salvation as in your own mind, and yet that is where they are. They are nowhere else. But when we realize that guilt is solely an invention of our mind, and that is our ego mind, we also realize that the guilt and salvation must be in the same place, because the problem and the solution must go together. And then it says, in understanding this, you're saved. The second paragraph of this lesson has a few sentences in it, which I've used many times already this year, and I'm sure I will again, because it says so much, it tells us so much, and it really is, for me, very empowering. And it says, the seeming cost of accepting today's idea is this. It means that nothing outside yourself can save you. Nothing outside yourself can give you peace. But it also means that nothing outside yourself can hurt you or disturb your peace or upset you in any way. Again, it is that inside job. Now, in other years, I've used different lessons to fold in, weave into today's. Today I'm using lessons 41 and 50. In 41, we had this wonderful couple of sentences in paragraph 3 that says, deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. It will cure all sorrow and pain and fear and loss, because it will heal the mind that thought these things were real and suffered out of its allegiance to them. So everything is everything is within, and there's within us, we can see where the problem is, where the guilt is, but we certainly can see where the answer, the salvation, the resolution to this idea is. And it says today's idea places you in charge, us in charge of the universe, where you belong because of what you are. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. We are the sinless, guiltless, perfect child of God. And it says this is not a role that can be partially accepted. This isn't a part-time job. When we accept our happiness, we're doing it not just for us, but for the world. So this is not part-time. If we there's a lesson we'll have soon, that the salvation of the world depends on you, not a part-time job. The acceptance of this is going to be beneficial for everyone. Now, coming back to today's lesson, it tells that, it may not, however, be clear to you that the recognition that guilt is in your own mind entails the realization that salvation is there as well. The solution, the problem and the solution, they're both there. God would not have put the remedy for sickness where it cannot help. That is the way your mind has worked, but hardly his. That's how the ego works. The ego, well, here's the problem, but I want to put the solution over there or back there, where it will never be found, so that the problem, the sickness, will remain. That is the ego's plan. The purpose, your purpose, was to ensure that healing did not occur. God's purpose was to ensure that it did. Today we practice realizing that God's will and ours are really the same in this, and that is one of the things we must accept, that God's will and ours are indeed the same. This is one of the basic ideas throughout this course that we must accept. God wants us to be healed. We do not really want to be sick because it makes us unhappy. Therefore, in accepting the idea for today, we are really in agreement with God. He does not want us to be sick, and neither do we. He wants us to be healed. So do we. God wants us to be happy. So do we. The practicing we're back to and will remain with the 10 to 15 minute longer sessions each day. We decide when, we decide where, but it has been decided for us that this is the amount of time that will be required for the maximum effect. So we begin the practice periods reciting the idea for today: my salvation, my happiness, my freedom comes from me, and not from anywhere else, it adds in. And then devote a few minutes with your eyes closed to reviewing some of the external places where you have looked for salvation in the past, where we have looked for what we believe would bring us happiness. Lesson 50, I am sustained by the love of God. And that lesson, which was our last one before our first review, here's the answer to every problem that will confront you today, tomorrow, throughout time. In this world, you believed you are sustained by everything but God. Your faith is placed in the most trivial and insane symbols: pills, money, protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people, and an endless list of forms of nothingness that you endow with magical powers. So in today's lesson, we're going to again have the metaphor of the clouds and realize that we have been looking in these clouds. We have been looking in these clouds for what we think will bring us happiness. We have sought for our happiness there and tried to make it real, but we have to realize that none of that has ever come to fruition. And even if it did not last. So now we're again to try to reach the light that is within us. You cannot find it in the clouds that surround the light. It is in them. You have been looking for it. As I just said, it's not there. It is past the clouds and in the light beyond. So we are going to close our eyes and then try to look at all of these illusions, all of these things that we have thought would bring us our happiness, our salvation, our freedom, and realize it cannot be found there. Remember that you have never found anything in the cloud patterns you imagined that endured or that you wanted. And since all illusions of salvation and freedom have failed you, surely you do not want to remain in the clouds. Then it has this wonderful phrase: try to pass the clouds by whatever means appeals to you. If it helps, think of me holding your hand and leading you. And I assure you, this will not be any idle fantasy. This will be no idle fantasy. I am there for you. The companion, the teacher, the friend that we have been given is there by our side to guide us and bring us home. And Joni Mitchell, God bless her, she's having a moment again and has been appearing after being absent from music for a while. And she has the most magnificent song that I know you know. The song is Both Sides Now, and it speaks of illusions. And it speaks of life's illusions, clouds' illusions, love's illusions. And in it she sings that she does not know clouds at all, that there's nothing within those clouds that has ever been the source of happiness. Happiness is easy to find if we know where to look, and it is not in the clouds. So that's it for today, and I hope it helped. Of course, we have the shorter practice periods of just repeating today's idea as often as possible, that we can do that. My salvation comes from me. Nothing outside of me can hold me back. Within me is the world's happiness and my own. Yeah, I changed that word. So I hope you like this. I hope it helped. Please like, please share, please comment, please subscribe. Please send this to others and smile, because you can watch those clouds. Go outside today, watch the clouds, and see how they just shift and change. There's nothing solid in them for us. And pray and breathe and be here tomorrow. Namaste.